Ready to uncover the real story behind one of the Philippines' greatest heroes? We're diving into the Battle of Mactan and the true tale of Lapu-Lapu, the warrior who stood up to the Spanish Empire and defeated Ferdinand Magellan. You've heard his name, but how well do you know the story? Before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Here on Philippine History, we go beyond the textbooks to bring you the stories that shaped the nation. Let's travel back to the 1500s and explore why Lapu-Lapu's legacy still inspires Filipinos today. 1. The historical setting. The arrival of Magellan. To understand the significance of Lapu-Lapu's victory in the Battle of Mactan, we need to first look at the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in the Philippines. In 1519, Magellan, a Portuguese explorer sailing under the Spanish crown, embarked on an expedition to find a westward route to the Spice Islands, now known as the Maluku Islands in Indonesia. On March 16, 1521, his fleet landed in the Philippines, specifically on Hominhan Island. Magellan was the first European to reach the Philippine archipelago, but his arrival was far from peaceful. His main goal was to claim the islands for Spain, spread Christianity, and establish trade. After landing on Hominhan, Magellan moved on to Cebu, where he formed an alliance with Raja Humabon, a local ruler. Humabon and his people converted to Christianity, and with this newfound friendship, Magellan grew confident that he could convince or force other chiefs in the region to submit to Spanish rule. One of these chiefs was Lapu-Lapu, the chieftain of Mactan Island, a small island near Cebu. Lapu-Lapu, however, had no intention of bowing to a foreign power or converting to Christianity. This set the stage for the legendary Battle of Mactan. Who was Lapu-Lapu? More than just a warrior, Lapu-Lapu is often remembered as a brave warrior who defeated Ferdinand Magellan, but there's more to his story. He was a datu or local chieftain of Mactan Island, and he fiercely valued the independence of his people. Historians believe Lapu-Lapu was in his late 40s or 50s at the time of the battle, and by then, he had established himself as a formidable leader, respected by his community and feared by his enemies. Lapu-Lapu's resistance to Spanish colonization was not just an impulsive act of defiance. It was a strategic decision grounded in his desire to protect his people's way of life. Unlike Raja Humabon, who saw benefits in aligning with the Spaniards for trade and protection, Lapu-Lapu recognized the threat that foreign powers posed to the sovereignty of the local tribes. The Spanish promise of Christianity and foreign alliances was meaningless to Lapu-Lapu, whose priorities were maintaining his tribe's autonomy, culture, and identity. He was not just a warrior fighting against an invading force. He was a leader who understood the long-term consequences of submitting to foreign rule. 3. The road to conflict. Tensions build. After securing the allegiance of Raja Humabon, Magellan set his sights on Mactan. He wanted to showcase Spanish military superiority and compel Lapu-Lapu to follow Humabon's lead by accepting Christianity and pledging loyalty to Spain. However, Lapu-Lapu outright refused. Magellan, confident in his firearms, steel armor, and naval power, believed that a show of force would quickly bring Lapu-Lapu to heel. Raja Humabon, who had already submitted to Spanish rule, also supported Magellan's decision, hoping to strengthen his position by eliminating his rival, Lapu-Lapu. On the night of April 26, 1521, Magellan decided to launch an assault on Mactan. He believed that by crushing Lapu-Lapu's forces, he would demonstrate the might of Spain and further solidify his control over the region. Little did Magellan know that he was about to face one of the most humiliating defeats in European exploration history. 4. The Battle of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu's strategic genius. The Battle of Mactan is remembered as a clash between two worlds, Lapu-Lapu's native warriors and Magellan's heavily armed European soldiers. However, what many don't realize is that the battle was also a testament to Lapu-Lapu's strategic brilliance and deep knowledge of his environment. At dawn on April 27, 1521, Magellan's forces, consisting of around 60 soldiers, arrived on Mactan's shores. Because the waters surrounding Mactan were too shallow for Magellan's ships to get close, the Spanish troops had to wade through knee-deep water and coral reefs to reach the beach. This slowed them down considerably and made them vulnerable to attack. Meanwhile, Lapu-Lapu and his warriors, numbering around 1,500, were waiting for them, armed with Campilon native swords, spears, bows, and poison-tipped arrows. The warriors used their knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the heavily armored Spaniards. While the Spaniards had superior weapons like arquebus, early firearms, and cannons, they were no match for Lapu-Lapu's agile forces in the shallow waters. Magellan's forces were quickly overwhelmed. According to Antonio Pigafetta, Magellan's chronicler who witnessed the battle, the Spaniards were surrounded, and Magellan himself was struck by a poisoned arrow and spear before being finished off by Lapu-Lapu's men. The battle was over within hours, and the Spanish were forced to retreat, leaving their commander dead on the beach. Lapu-Lapu's victory wasn't just about numbers or bravery. It was about strategy. He chose the battlefield, used the terrain to his advantage, and exploited the weaknesses of Magellan's overconfidence and heavy armor. It was a victory not just for Mactan, but for all indigenous peoples fighting to defend their homeland from foreign invaders. 5. The aftermath. What happened after the battle? The death of Magellan sent shockwaves through the Spanish expedition. The once mighty leader of a global circumnavigation was killed by a local chieftain, proving that the native peoples of the Philippines were not as easily conquered as the Spanish had thought. In the immediate aftermath of the battle, the remaining Spanish forces fled Cebu and scrambled to find new leadership. Raja Himaban, who had supported Magellan, suddenly found himself on the losing side. He attempted to negotiate with Lapu-Lapu, but the chieftain of Mactan remained resolute in his opposition to Spanish rule. The Spanish survivors eventually left the Philippines and continued their journey back to Spain, without completing the mission Magellan had set out to accomplish. For the Philippines, the battle became a symbol of resistance and independence. While the Spanish would return later, in 1565, under Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, the memory of Lapu-Lapu's victory at Mactan lived on. It showed that even the most powerful foreign empire could be defeated by the determination and courage of local warriors. 6. Lapu-Lapu's legacy, a hero for the ages. Lapu-Lapu's legacy as a hero of resistance and defiance is celebrated throughout the Philippines today. But it wasn't always this way. For centuries, his story remained relatively unknown, overshadowed by the larger narrative of Spanish colonization and the Philippine Revolution against Spain in the late 19th century. It wasn't until the 20th century that Lapu-Lapu was recognized as a national hero. In 1931, Lapu-Lapu was officially honored by the Philippine government for his role in resisting Spanish colonization. The Mactan Shrine, featuring a statue of Lapu-Lapu, was built in Cebu to commemorate his victory. He is also remembered through Lapu-Lapu City, which bears his name, and April 27, the anniversary of the battle, is celebrated as Lapu-Lapu Day. What makes Lapu-Lapu's story so powerful is that he represents the spirit of independence that has always been a defining feature of the Filipino people. His defiance against Magellan was not just a local act of rebellion. It was a universal symbol of resistance against foreign oppression. Today, Lapu-Lapu's name is synonymous with bravery, strength, and the unyielding fight for sovereignty. His legacy lives on not only in statues and city names, but also in the hearts of Filipinos who see him as a hero who refused to be conquered. Lapu-Lapu's victory at Mactan reminds us that the fight for freedom is never easy, but it is always worth it. The real story behind the legend, the Battle of Mactan and Lapu-Lapu's defeat of Magellan, are more than just a historical footnote. They are a defining moment in the history of the Philippines and a story that continues to inspire. Lapu-Lapu's refusal to submit to foreign rule, his strategic victory against a technologically superior force, and his enduring legacy as a symbol of Filipino resistance make him one of the most iconic figures in Philippine history. Lapu-Lapu's story reminds us that even the most powerful empires can be challenged by those who are determined to protect their homeland and way of life. The true story behind the Battle of Mactan is one of bravery, intelligence, and unyielding courage. If you found Lapu-Lapu's story as inspiring and eye-opening as I did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here on Philippine History, we dive deep into the untold stories of the country's past, exploring the heroes, events, and cultures that shaped the Philippines. Let us know in the comments what you found most fascinating or which historical figure you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode where we continue to explore the rich history of the Philippines.